Hey, Mitch.
Oh, hi, Ed.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. What are you doing with that little fella there?
I'm so excited about today's movie, Firefox.
What, wait a minute. You're not gonna hurt that little fox, are you, with that flame, are you? What's wrong with you?
Uh,
That's not what Firefox is about.
well, what's it about then?
It's about Clint Eastwood. He steals a super secret Russian airplane. It's called the Firefox. It's not about
Oh,
setting fire to a little tiny animal. What's the matter with you, you
no, no,
crazy?
no, no. I wasn't. I was just going to, it's
Yeah,
all fine. I
okay.
was
I
just
know what
going.
you were gonna do.
No, no, no. It's all good.
Oh my God.
Let's just start the show. Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
This is Mikhail Halushek.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it's your first time here, thanks so much for joining us. If you are a regular viewer, thanks for coming back. Mitch, before we start today's topic, how can you find out a little bit more about what we do here?
Oh, it's easy, comrade. All you have to do is steal a super secret sonic jet and press button and subscribe to Mission Ed's Excellent Adventure. And you too can come along with us as we travel back in time to watch movie, TV, and all type of propaganda.
And of course, we are talking about a classic. Well, is it a classic? It might be a classic. 1982's Firefox. And as always, before we start, I'm going to delve into our trusty rating the movies by J.A. Brown. And we're going to take a look at Firefox and see what Jay thought about it. So, take my glasses off. I'll go on this side today. All right, James Bond apparently went off on a working vacation, so Hollywood called in stone-faced Eastwood for this high-flying spy adventure involving the abduction of a secret Russian superplane. Eastwood portrays a Vietnam vet, ace pilot, who sneaks into the Soviet Union on this mission impossible. There are some holes in the overlong screenplay, but Eastwood makes it work, and he gets plenty of help from the stunning special effects, which includes a knockout aerial chase sequence. Directed by Clint Eastwood, 3 stars. I remember seeing this in the movies back in the day. What did you think?
About you seen it in the movies?
Yes, I know you took tabs. No,
That's
what did you
we
think
got
about the
we got to
movie?
wait in line for many days to go to movies back then. And whenever we went, there was no lights. You just had to hold the movie up to the sun and look. You go blind. Uh, I saw Firefox in movie theater with Clint Eastwood. I thought the commercial made it look better than it was. It was not. The only reason why I saw it is because he had the same first name as me, Mitchell Gant. My middle name is Gant. No. In the commercial, the man said this, and the trailer, Gant, can you fly that plane? I mean, really fly it? And he says, yeah, I can fly it. I'm the best there is. Well, that's you don't need anything. I just
I
told you
don't
the
think you
whole
need to
movie.
watch the movie after that
That's what
little
I'm saying. I
scene.
saw that, and then they showed Freddie Jones, my favorite worst actor of the '80s, and he's like Doctor Exposition. He's
Yeah.
got the crazy hair, and he's doing you must maneuver the Death Star to this point, and you skim the surface, and then the blast field is only 2 meters wide. It's basically Star Wars, and he's telling Clint Eastwood once he gets the Firefox, the super secret MiG 31, I believe it was, and you super hypersonic jet that'll be invisible to any ground radar, and it could deliver a payload of nuclear bombs. It's the ultimate weapon from the Russians because the Cold War was freezing back in the early 80s because they wanted to kill all this Westerners. It's a long movie. It's like a James Bond movie without all the hot babes running around and the gadgets. It's kind of slow. And I read the book by Craig Thomas because, that's what you did back in the day. You read the novelization. The book is much better. Even the logo's better than the movie. I just thought the movie was really boring. I mean, I remember just sitting there going, when is it going to get good? And it should have been good, Ed, because
Yeah.
it had special effects by John Dystra, the man behind Star Wars and Brainstorm and a bunch of other classic special effects, but it was a little too late. I mean, you can only save so much. It's just a long, dull espionage thriller.
Look, It is slow, but remember, often films of that ilk, the intrigue genre, I suppose, or
Mhm.
spy genre, were a little bit slower than we expect. That modern audiences are used to. I would
Mm.
say that it's still a quite an interesting film. Kelly hadn't seen it before. She was watching it and she was intrigued and going, "What's going to happen next?" And it was a bit of a slow burn. And yes, it was directed and starring Clint
Clint
Eastwood, who
Eastwood.
was,
Yeah.
he was probably at the,
He
would you
was,
say he
yeah.
would have
Oh,
been
in
at
the
the
early
height of his,
80s?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
82, he was a box office draw. He just
He
had,
was at his zenith, Ed, the
yeah, Any
zenith
Which
of his
Way
career.
You Can, or Any Which Way
Any
But
which way,
Loose. And
busting loose. No, not busting loose. His character's name was Buster something. I can't think of it. But
so
any
he
which
had,
way,
he was a huge star at that
Dirty
stage.
Harry movies were
Yeah,
big.
of
That Magnum
course. Of
Force, he was
course. Yeah,
making those.
Tightrope coming out, I think the next
Tightrope was
80,
coming out, and then he did that
83.
horrible movie City Heat with Burt Reynolds because
That's
both
right.
of
That's
them at the time were like the number one box office stars in the country. Burt
So
Reynolds
you
and
you also had some really good actors in there. You had Nigel Hawthorne, the British actor who's well known for The Madness of King George, and also he was the bad guy in Demolition Man. I'm sure he probably doesn't want to be remembered for that. But there were interestingly also some Star Wars connections. Obviously, you
William
had
Hookins.
no, you had John Dykstra, obviously you mentioned, who created a reverse blue screen process that
Yes,
worked for the visual effects, and the visual
yes.
effects were great. It was essentially the trench run at the end of the movie, and really well done. But you also had Kenneth Colley, who is Admiral Piet,
Oh yes, Admiral Piet's in it. You're right. Yeah.
and as always, there is a Indiana Jones link. Do you know the
Who?
Indiana
Wolf
Jones link?
Collar.
No,
Anthony Higgins.
No. Ronald Lacey was one of the Russian scientists with
Oh, I did
Nigel
not get
Hawthorne.
that.
You actually
Hmm.
didn't get a really good look at his face, but he did have a supporting role. And also, oh, there was another Star Wars reference. Also, Wolf Kala was
Yeah.
in it, who didn't have any
Yes.
line. He had one or two lines. And this
Wolf
was done
Collar.
right after Raiders of the Lost Ark, or
Yeah. Yeah.
filmed around
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah.
So you had that, and you had
Who?
another Star Wars connection in that John Ratzenberger was in there.
Oh, I didn't catch him. And where was he?
He was, I think, in the with the Americans.
You could say, in a weird way, Freddie Jones is connected to the Indiana Jones things because he is the father of what's the other Jones that was in Dial of
Toby
Destiny?
Jones.
Toby Jones. Yeah. But at least
Yeah, he
Toby's a good
was,
guy.
and he's linked to we've spoken about him in Young Sherlock Holmes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he was in the Elephant Man. He
Oh
can
no,
do
no,
some good
he
work.
had a great career. Who was the chubby Russian guy with the mustache with the little hat that was like, can you flay it, Pauline? Really flay it. That was the guy that I was making
Oh,
fun of.
I cannot remember his name.
I don't think he was really Russian. But I'll tell you this though, I do remember at the time being growing up in the US and we thought any minute the Russians were going to blow us up, or the communist Russians,
Hmm.
the Soviets. They're not, they weren't Russian, they were the Soviet Union.
Hmm.
The whole Cold War thing was a real deal, and we had Ronald Reagan was our president back then, and he was looking for a fight. And honestly, this was interesting because every day on the news it was like, what's going on between Russia and the U.S. Because we were literally, I'm not kidding, it's hard to imagine now, but back then you didn't know what was going to happen. I thought a nuclear war was going to break
Well,
out.
the year after, didn't the
Star
day
Wars.
after
The day
tomorrow come
after,
out?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Then they had the Star Wars Missile Defense Program, which is what, they were going to wipe out with a shield across the US
Yeah.
and Russian bombs. And then you had movies like War Games were going to come out, Terminator, even though it's a little ahead of its time, but all this, apocalyptic future was
Hmm.
happening. So to see Clint Eastwood stealing this supersonic jet on paper, it's really good. And if I remember the Firefox story, the Mitchell Gant character appears not only in one, but I think four total stories by Craig Thomas. It was Firefox Down.
Yeah,
Then
that
there's
was a
another called like
direct sequel.
Winterhawk
Yes.
or something. And he was like the James Bond. But at the time then, I think Tom Clancy hadn't started yet. I don't think those Russian espionage books
Hmm.
were there. But John Gardner took over the James Bond series from the Ian Fleming family. And I remember reading those right around the mid 80s and right around now, that because James Bond was still a big deal. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you had your Roger Moore, and he was always fighting the Russians. And then
Yep.
Rambo was going to come in, and a couple of years later, he was going to go and fight the Russians in Rambo Part Two or
Three.
whatever.
Rambo 3. Rambo.
No, Part Two. He had to go find the prisoners of war, but there was a Russian guy because they had a Russian helicopter at the
That's
end.
right. Wasn't that in
Yeah.
Rambo 3?
No, that was number two. And Rambo 3, Rambo went and joined the Taliban.
Was that Rambo 3?
We don't
Okay.
talk about Rambo 3. Yeah, he was a little confused. He joined the bad guys and fought Russians. So yeah, the Russians were like the bad guys at that point. So I mean, like I said, you think this was going to be a good. I just thought it was kind of dull. I don't know, but yes,
Well, I
Tinker
can tell
Tailor
you
Soldier
that it
Spy.
it it was a success. It did cost $21 million to make. A lot of that was
Yeah,
spent on the special effects and the plane, which they reused in Deal of the Century, which was that with Dudley Moore and Eddie
yeah.
Murphy? Or was that
No,
with
that's Best
Gregory
Defense.
Hines?
No, Best Defense was Eddie
That's what I'm
Murphy,
thinking of.
Kate
Was Deal of the
Capshaw.
Century Gregory Hines? I don't know. Anyway, they redressed that. The film made about $42 million at the
Did
box
it
office.
really?
Yeah, so
Oh,
it did pretty well. I think it was like in the top 10 or 11 for the year, which isn't too bad for a
no,
more adult
yeah.
drama. Merchandise, not really much. We got the novel. Uh, they did, though. Atari released a Laserdisc
Video game.
video
Yes,
game, which I
there was
remember
a video game.
playing, which was quite fun. That was their only video game Laserdisc sort of version that they brought out.
A
So
Laserdisc
yeah,
version?
so it was
Was it on the
so they used all the
5200?
footage from they used film footage from the movie of it flying first, first
Really?
person perspective, and then they
Oh,
overlaid effects on it. Yeah.
was it an
So
arcade game or a home
it was an
arcade game?
arcade game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so that's all there
Oh,
really is to it. And you know what? It's hard to find on you can't find it on streaming or anything like that for some reason. I don't know why, at
really?
least in Australia. I had to
This
dig up, I had to find a good old DVD copy of it. So that's all I could find. So
this movie ran on cable TV. This movie ran on cable TV like every other day. I swear it was like nonstop. And like 83, it would be on like HBO cable TV. I must have saw this movie like 100 times. It
oh
was
my gosh,
always
so
on
did I. I
for
mean,
some reason.
and the main takeaway from it, I got to see a special talk that John Dykstra did in Melbourne, and he spoke about his visual effects, and he was talking about the process for Firefox and the way that they did the cockpit with
Hmm.
they had a light on a gimbal so it would look like the sun when he was flying around, and it was a bit like the volume that they used to
Yeah,
project
yeah,
onto
yeah,
his
yeah.
helmet, which is really good. The main takeaway from that film is, and I said to Kelly, oh, I actually this film has got they've got the best showers in the Russian base because they were all this beautiful 1970s orange tile. That's
Yeah,
all I
yeah, yeah.
remember. That's the main
And,
thing I
and
remember from this film.
well, the whole plot is we didn't even talk about the plot. The real
Oh well,
reason
we've only got
why,
a couple of
well,
minutes
yeah, I
left.
mean, I know we're all about that. Well, the thing is, he has to go steal the super secret Russian plane. I told you it flies hypersonic speeds, blah, 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 blah. But the trick of it is the pilot controls the guidance, the missile guidance system, the defense system, because all you had to do was think in Russian and it would do what you wanted. It was kind of like an AI, I don't know, AI if you want to. But Mitchell Gant, whose mother was Russian, could also think in Russian.
Yeah. But he also
And
had
that,
PTSD, which added to
yeah.
the drama.
Which, you know what? At the time, we got to go do some helicopter movie. We got to do Blue Thunder next because there was a lot of aerial movies around the early 80s because this is Firefox. It's about a jet. But then you'll have Blue Thunder, which is Roy Scheider in a
Mhm.
helicopter, which is a super advanced type of
And you
helicopter.
had Airwolf, the TV
And
series, which
Airwolf,
was,
the
I think,
TV show. Blue
and you had
Thunder, the
Blue
TV
Thunder, the
show.
TV series, didn't you?
Yeah. And then, yes, with James Franciscus and
Or
Daniel
was it
Stern.
or James
No, no,
Ferrantino?
no. Daniel Stern was in the movie. It was Dana Carvey played him in the on the TV show from Saturday Night Live and
Dana
Wayne's World.
Carvey?
Dana Carvey was on Blue Thunder, the TV show.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we've got that to look forward to. We've got lots more. I was watching Batteries Not Included last night. We've got that. We've got Firestar, not Firestarter. Starman would be great. There's lots of films to find out. How can you find out a little bit more about what we do, Mitch?
Oh, Ed, it is simple as thinking in Russian.
But maybe say it out
I
loud
just
just in
did it
case.
now. I just did it now. You
I
didn't
know
see
you
that?
did, but
I used my mind, comrade, to make people smash that subscribe button, hit the like, do all you need to do, and make Mitch and Ed's excellent adventure the thing that brings down the evil empire of the Soviet Union. Did we do it, Ed? There's no more Soviet Union.
there you go. Mission accomplished.
That's right.
All right. So signing off. This is Ed Dollister,
This is Mikhail Halushek.
and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.